Who is in your real estate power team? Do you even know what a power team is? It's okay. When I bought my first rental property, I had no clue who to call or my first steps. In this video, I've grouped together the chapters 22 through 26 that I recorded a couple years ago in my free mini-series. In the next 10 minutes, you're going to learn the components of what I believe is your necessary advisors to successfully own a rental property or properties, a deeper dive into what you should expect from your accountant, your real estate lawyer, your realtor, and your property manager. You know, although these videos were recorded a couple of years ago, they're still super relevant, especially the concept of a real estate power team. Let's get right into it.
In my opinion, at the core of every successful real estate investor, there are a team of people that act as a great supporting cast. An accountant, a lawyer, a real estate agent, and a property manager. So an accountant. At its simplest level, this is a person who will prepare your tax returns, maybe give you some advice for what you can and cannot write off for your personal taxes. But what do we do when we own a rental property? Or more importantly, let's say you're just getting started. How can a good accountant help you? Well, number one, advice. How are you going to set up your real estate business? As I've said before, this is a business and you want to make sure you have all of your ducks in a row before you buy your first property. So some good questions. Should you own the property personally? Or should you create a corporation? If you want to depreciate things at the end of the year, what is the best strategy to do so? Okay, number two, experience. You want to choose an accountant that has experience in rental property, so make sure you ask the correct questions when interviewing an accountant. For example, do they understand the difference between capital improvements and current expenses? Do they have other clients that own rental property? Have they had experience with larger projects? It's fine if you stick with a single-family home, but what happens if you purchase an apartment block or vacant land and start developing a multiplex? And number three, typical yearly costs. Now this is more just to let you know what to expect. Obviously you can shop around for the cheapest person, but believe me, a good accountant is worth every penny. Quite often the money you pay for good advice will save you thousands of dollars in taxes or worst case, penalties, audits, or more. And that'll do it for this segment. So a lawyer, or more specifically, you've heard me say a real estate lawyer. What can a lawyer do for you? How important are they? Well, this is one discipline I'm fairly certain it's almost impossible to do it yourself. When we refer to a real estate transaction, we have things like land title searches, placing a mortgage on the property, making sure there is insurance in place before you get your keys. We also have trust conditions, dealing with the other side's lawyer and registering you as the property owner at land titles after everything is done. And that's why I keep referring to a real estate lawyer rather than just a lawyer. We all know there are specialties in law no different than other industries, and it really wouldn't make sense for you to hire a litigation specialist to process the sale of your rental property. Yes, there's definitely lawyers out there who are experts in multiple disciplines, but like anything, make sure you ask the intelligent questions. But let's back up a bit. The real estate transaction, while important, is somewhat straightforward for any real estate lawyer. When we refer to our dream team, however, what do you need from your real estate lawyer? Well, I mentioned this before. You need advice. If you're just getting into investing in rental property, ask some of the same questions you asked your accountant. Should you own the property in your own name? Should you create a corporation and the corporation owns the property? Should you have multiple corporations that own different properties? Is it worth it to spend money creating corporations? What is the best way to protect yourself? And by protection, we mean the liability kind. Also, at this point, what kind of real estate investor do you think you're going to be? You might be considering taking on investors or forming a joint partnership with other fellow investors. You want to make sure your lawyer is familiar with most of these things. And I think the 2-minute deadline is fast approaching. So, the real estate agent, or more commonly known as a realtor. The official definition of a realtor is a person who acts as an agent for the sale and purchase of buildings and land. Now, depending on where you're located, a realtor must be duly licensed with the governing body in your region and also answering to a broker in a brokerage. Some common brokerages we have all heard about, RE/MAX, Century 21, Royal LePage, Keller Williams, and so on. So I guess the main question is, why do you need a realtor? Can't you just buy a home privately? Or can't you just look on the MLS yourself online and contact any listing agent to answer your questions? Well, you could, but you have to remember that listing realtor doesn't work for you. They work for the seller. So much so, they have to disclose this fact to you most often in writing. In my opinion, a realtor is an important part of your real estate dream team. Not only do they know the laws to protect you, writing an offer with a licensed realtor will often be written on a standard purchase and sale agreement, which are prepared by their governing association's lawyers. They want to protect everyone on both sides of the transaction. Regardless if you're a savvy investor or just starting out, a good realtor has their finger on the pulse of the community. They can give advice on market sales, activity, and act as a good negotiator on your behalf. If you happen to be an out-of-town investor, forming a relationship with a good realtor will allow that person to shop for you, scope out deals, visit properties in which you're interested, and facilitate a sales agreement, all without you having to get on a plane every single time you want to look at something. So make sure the realtor you choose is experienced, knows the types of investments in which you're interested, and has a good reputation. You want someone that works hard, is a good communicator, and has integrity, and that'll do it. So, you're a real estate investor. You've spoken to your accountant and lawyer, set up some good structure to protect yourself, and you've got an experienced realtor currently looking for target properties. Why do you need a property manager on your team? Well, whether you plan on managing the property yourself, or you're a large enough investor to have internal staff take over some of the rent collecting, having a property manager on your team can really make a difference. I'm not saying you shouldn't be managing the property yourself, but property management is a very, very complicated field. The trained property manager knows all of the laws in your region, knows how to take someone to court, and should be very, very good at screening out potential problem tenants. Even if you never end up using a property manager, it's always a good idea to have a conversation with one prior to purchasing the property. A property manager will tell you about good and desirable neighborhoods, the current vacancy rates, and the types of tenants to avoid. Another point, while your realtor will know the property values and give you advice on comparable properties so you can write a competitive offer, they won't know what the property should be renting for. With most properties, because equity is the main profit center, cash flow is fairly small. So being off in your calculations by $100 or even $200 is the difference between a successful investment and one that you have to prop up each month from your own pocket. Our company provides free market rent evaluations to investors. We like to help investors with their purchases, not only to strengthen the relationship, but we play the long game. If we help an investor successful in their business, they're going to grow, they're going to reach a point where they're so busy that they may need a property manager in the future. And additionally, you might be the type of investor who's already planning on using a property manager because you don't have the time to deal with tenants not paying rent, evictions, lease renewals, being on call 24/7 for maintenance requests, or having to go to your vacant property every day to show the property to potential tenants after answering the phone calls. So for those of you who are wondering how to choose a property manager, I've run out of time. Today, we're going to be continuing our discussion on property managers, and more specifically, how to choose a property management company. So here are my top 10 list of questions to ask a management company. I'm going to try to do it in 2 minutes or less. 1, is a company licensed? Depending on your region, a property manager has to be licensed as we are a regulated industry. Number 2, do they have a trust account? Similar to the first question, part of being licensed is having a trust account similar to a lawyer where the manager holds your money in trust. 3, are they bonded and insured? You want to make sure the company can protect you from theft from their employees or not go out of business because they're being sued by another client. Number 4, how long have they been in business? Now, there's nothing wrong with being a startup versus an experienced company, but you deserve to know what you're getting into and if there will be growing pains as that new company takes on more and more clients. Number 5, how large is the company? How many units or buildings do they manage? Do they manage in all areas of the city? And do they have the experience in the types of properties in which you're interested? Number 6, how many employees do they have? Again, nothing wrong with a single operator, but you need to know what their backup plan might be if they go on vacation, get sick, maybe they have one employee that quits, etc. 7, do they have an actual office? Yes, in this day and age, more and more employees are working remotely from home, but this is a people business and many tenants might want to go down to an actual office to pay their rent, sign a lease, or speak about a maintenance issue. Number 8, how do they perform maintenance? Do they have their own maintenance crews or do they subcontract out everything? Do they mark up the invoices? Will they give you the original invoices? Number 9, are there any hidden fees? This is where I stress, ask questions. 10, what is their reputation? What kind of rating do they have on Google? Would you eat at a restaurant with a 2.5 rating out of 5? If not, then why would you trust a company with arguably one of the largest assets you'll ever own? And that'll do it. Top 10 questions to ask a property management company.
If you want to know more about how to own a rental property and manage it yourself, I'm releasing 2 to 3 new videos of this stuff per week. Subscribe to the channel to get notified when they're posted, and also help grow the channel so that YouTube will put this information in front of other landlords and people like yourself. And if you're interested in checking out a community of like-minded investors that have come together to share ideas and experiences about being a landlord, check out my Rent It Yourself community. The link is in the description below. Thanks for watching.